Palm Springs is a movie about two people stuck in a time loop. And that might sound crazy, but this movie was pretty damn good. But before we jump into the review, I'd really appreciate if you did me one little favor, and that's if you enjoyed today's video, please jump down below the video and hit that subscribe button to help us grow. We're on the road to 200 subscribers, and I'd really appreciate your support with that. Now here in Ireland, this movie is on Amazon Prime. I know in some countries it's on different services. I think in America it was on Hulu, but here in Ireland, and possibly in the UK, it's on Amazon Prime. And when I turn on my Amazon Fire TV stick, posters everywhere for Palm Springs all week long. So I thought I'd check it out. The trailer looked pretty interesting. Andy Samberg, Cristin Milioti, and J.K. Simmons in there. That's a pretty good cast. Andy Samberg is hilarious, so I expected some good comedy in there. And I didn't know anything about this movie. I didn't watch the trailer, I didn't see any reviews, so maybe that tinted my opinion of this movie because I didn't know what to expect. And it starts off and I said, okay, here we go. Probably a little bit of a rom-com because the setting is like at a wedding and Andy Samberg is like jumping around and Cristin Milioti is like the more serious person. And Andy Samberg is like in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts at the wedding. He's not taking it seriously at all. He steps in, does a wedding speech that blows everyone away, and he's dancing around like a maniac trying to get Cristin Milioti's attention. The two of them end up hanging out, and Andy Samberg, there's something not quite right about him. He seems to know more than he should. Like he knows his girlfriend's cheating on him, and he says something to the effect of, there's no world where she doesn't cheat. Immediately that makes you go, that's an interesting comment. I wonder if that's going to come back. At this point in the movie, about 10-15 minutes in, I had no idea this movie was about time loops. So Cristin Milioti and Andy Samberg are out in the desert, and they're kind of just making out, and out of nowhere, Andy Samberg is shot with an arrow. And this is the moment where I sat up and took notice, because just like Cristin Milioti's character was shouting out, what the hell? Because I was sitting there going, this movie just took a complete left turn. I think I went right that time. Then I realized it was J.K. Simmons chasing him down. And J.K. Simmons ends up walking into this glowing cave. And Andy Samberg is crawling through, and Cristin Milioti is about to follow him, and he's telling her not to follow. All of a sudden, Cristin Milioti wakes up in her bed on the morning of the wedding. And thus, we have a Groundhog Day on our hands. And that's the thing with a time loop movie, every single one of them that's ever made from now on is going to be compared to Groundhog Day. There has been other ones attempted. Happy Death Day did a similar thing, but took a different spin on it, but still was compared to Groundhog Day. And this is a similar type of thing where the characters relive the same day over and over again. But the difference this time is there's two of them. Well, actually, there's three of them, but we don't see J.K. Simmons too often. Andy Samberg reveals to her that he's basically been in the time loop for a long time, and the days just keep repeating. He's been through every scenario he can think of. He's tried every way to get out. Even if he kills himself, he just wakes up in his bed the next morning, and they start again. Even if he travels somewhere else in the world, he gets back to where he woke up that original morning. He also reveals that he's the reason J.K. Simmons got caught in there, because they were partying one night, and they ended up in the cave. Now, I don't need to run through the whole story. I've already talked a lot about the story, but as I say, I was completely caught off guard with this movie. I didn't know what to expect, and what I got was much better than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a basic rom-com in the desert out at Palm Springs or something like that, but what I got was a pretty cool movie that I really enjoyed. And the movie even takes some weird turns. At one stage, Cristin Milioti said she's going to find a way to get out of there when she has an argument with Andy Samberg, and she just disappears. We don't see her. We have to assume that she has found a way out, but then later on they reveal what she's been doing with her time, trying to figure out a way out. Now, hopefully at this stage you've realized there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this, because I've already given away a lot of spoilers. But I want to talk about the ending, because right at the end, I'm assuming you've seen the movie, so if you haven't, go watch the movie, come back, tell me your opinions on it. Right at the end, where they go into the cave and they set off the C4, the screen goes black. I was really hoping that the credits would just come up, because that would have been a pretty cool moment in my opinion, like an Inception with the spinning top. You don't quite know if they got out, if they just died, or whether they restarted. It would leave a question in your mind and leave you wondering, but they kind of just tied it up nicely at the end with a funny little moment. I think it's an opportunity wasted in my opinion, because leaving the question of did they or didn't they escape, I think that sets a better ending, but it's not my movie, so you know, that's just the way I would have done it. But overall, the movie had a lot of funny moments. It's got some good drama in there at the same time, and despite being another Groundhog Day type movie, it did have a unique spin. They did the whole time loop thing fairly well. Now, there is probably a lot you can question about the time loop. For example, if one person, say, jumps in front of a bus at 6 o'clock in the morning, does the other person's day immediately reset, or do they have to play through the whole day? Or at one stage, both characters are in a tent in the desert. What if one character stays awake all night and tries to wake the other character up in the morning? Does that break the time loop? There's many questions to be asked, but I don't think it's the type of movie that's taking itself too seriously where you have to ask those questions. If this was a serious sci-fi movie or a drama movie, sure, go crazy with the conspiracy theories like I did with Looper about a year ago. But this is more or less a comedy movie or a rom-com movie with a different twist, a romantic drama with a twist. So I think you can let them slide on some of those things. But overall, once you don't take the time loop thing too seriously, I think you'll really enjoy this movie. In a week where I watched Love and Monsters and Sound of Metal, Palm Springs was the best movie I watched this week. For me, it's a 7.5 movie out of 10. I don't do half ratings very often, but I just want to set it apart from Love and Monsters. I really enjoyed both of those movies, thought they were really good. Not a Citizen Kane type movie, but a very enjoyable movie nonetheless. And I'd love to hear your opinions on Palm Springs. And as I've previously mentioned, I watched Love and Monsters and Sound of Metal this week, and if you want to check out those reviews, they should be right over here for you to check out. But with all that said and done, thank you so much for watching.